The 17-foot lace train was still being tucked into the state landau when the first cracks began to show. 500 million people were watching a fairy tale, but behind the palace walls, a different story was being written, one of hollow characters and late-night greed. It wasn't just the extramarital affairs or the jet-setting scandals that eventually gutted this royal union. The most lethal blow came from the one person supposed to protect the family, the mother of the bride herself. When she sat down with the press to confirm that the man the world once admired had absolutely no character, the foundation didn't just crack, it shattered. Now, with the final eviction notices from Royal Lodge being served and the inheritance officially stripped away, we're finally seeing the true cost of a life built on a heart of gold that turned out to be plated in lead. But why would a mother choose to bury her own son-in-law while her daughter's life was already imploding? Imagine your mother-in-law sitting down with a global magazine, not to praise your marriage, but to systematically dismantle your soul. That is exactly what happened when Susan Barrantes decided to stop being a silent observer of the royal collapse. She didn't just whisper in private corridors, she went straight to the press with a dagger sharpened by years of inside knowledge. "He's a good-looking boy," she began, leading the world into a false sense of security with a sugary opening. She even claimed he had a heart of gold that would lead him to give his last penny to a stranger. It sounded like a defense, a mother protecting her daughter's choice, but then the sweetness vanished, replaced by a cold, clinical execution. "He hasn't just gotten any character," Susan stated bluntly. "Absolutely none." Think about the weight of those words coming from the woman who saw him behind the palace gates, away from the medals and the military uniforms. She wasn't calling him a villain, she was calling him a vacuum, a man with no substance, no spine, and no internal compass to guide a marriage through a storm. But the betrayal didn't stop at a character assassination. Susan went further, suggesting that this lack of manhood was the sole reason the fairy tale turned into a nightmare. She pinned the entire failure of the union on the fact that he simply wasn't enough of a person to sustain it. Yet, as the public gasped at her honesty, a hypocritical shadow began to loom over Susan's own past. Because while she was judging the strength of a royal marriage, people were starting to remember exactly why she wasn't in the country to help save it in the first place. And the truth about her own character was about to make this family feud even more explosive. While a mother's betrayal is enough to break a family, the staff at Royal Lodge were witnessing a different kind of decay, one that happened behind closed doors and under the silver service lids. If you want to know the true measure of a person, you don't ask their peers, you ask the people who have to clean up after them. And for the staff catering to the Yorks, the heart of gold Susan Barrantes spoke of was nowhere to be found in the kitchen. Former royal chef Dan Otway didn't just see the glitz, he saw the demanding and difficult reality of serving a man who acted like the world was his personal vending machine. While other royals, like Catherine, would bring their children into the kitchen to look the staff in the eye and say thank you, the atmosphere at Royal Lodge was cold, entitled, and relentlessly high pressure. It wasn't just about the attitude, it was about the staggering, almost stomach-churning excess. Imagine standing in a kitchen late at night, exhausted after a full day of service, only to have a sudden royal demand barked at you. We're talking about entire legs of lamb and multiple whole chickens being prepared at midnight on a whim.
But here is the part that truly sticks in the throat of every staff member who was there. After the frantic cooking and the late-night stress, most of that food wasn't even eaten. It was tossed aside, a mountain of waste that mirrored the crumbling state of the marriage itself. To the people in the white coats and the service uniforms, it wasn't a fairy tale. It was a spoilt brat scenario played out in a palace. They saw the grumpy kid the nannies used to complain about, now grown up and still expecting the world to bow. This wasn't just a couple living beyond their means, it was a couple living beyond any sense of reality. And as the staff watched the bins fill up with wasted feasts, they realized that the hunger for excess wasn't just limited to the dining table. It extended to the company they kept, and a dark social circle that was about to turn a messy divorce into a global catastrophe. The betrayal didn't just happen in front of rolling cameras or over dinner tables. The most devastating blow, the one that finally severed the House of York from the royal fold, was written in digital ink. For years, the public was told that the association with Jeffrey Epstein was a lapse in judgment or a brief mistake. But in early 2026, the release of over 3 million documents by the US Department of Justice proved that the rabbit hole went much deeper than anyone dared to imagine. Imagine a mother of 2 royal daughters, someone who claimed to abhor the actions of a convicted predator, privately emailing that same man and calling him the brother I always wished for. These weren't messages from a distance, these were invitations to Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, sent years after the world knew exactly who he was. But it gets darker. While the public apology was being rehearsed for the cameras, Sarah was reportedly asking the financier for advice on how to handle her media appearances. She wasn't just a friend, she was a student of his brand protection. Even as the scandals began to swallow her whole, she was caught in a loop of humbly apologizing to him in private for what she had to say about him in public. And then there's the man formerly known as the Duke of York. The documents didn't just mention him, they painted a picture of a pet-like compliance. Emails surfaced showing him inviting the financier to private dinners at the palace after his 2008 conviction, even asking for introductions to beautiful young women, as if the rules of the crown and common decency simply didn't apply. The shadow of this social circle didn't just tarnish their names, it acted as a poison that seeped into every corner of their lives. By February 2026, the fallout was absolute. Charities that had stood by Sarah for 35 years, like the Teenage Cancer Trust, didn't just distance themselves, they wiped her name from their history. 6 of her companies were wound down in a matter of weeks, and a $1 million book deal in America was pulped before it could even hit the shelves. They thought they were untouchable, protected by the golden gates of Royal Lodge, but they forgot one thing. Once you invite a monster into the palace, you eventually lose the right to live in it. And for King Charles, the Epstein shadow was the final justification he needed to initiate the ultimate eviction.
The 30-room sanctuary of Royal Lodge, once a fortress of royal privacy, has finally fallen. In early 2026, the world watched as moving vans rolled past the gates of Windsor, carrying away the last priceless possessions of a man who no longer officially exists in the royal registry. There was no fanfare, no grand farewell, only the sight of valuable artwork being stripped from the walls and packed into storage. The eviction King Charles initiated isn't just about a change of address, it's a total, systematic erasure. By March 2026, the man formerly known as the Duke of York was forced into a final exile at Marsh Farm on the Sandringham estate, a property that previously belonged to a tenant farmer. It's a staggering downgrade that serves as a physical reminder of his new reality, from a 98-acre estate to a renovated farmhouse protected by big security gates and 24-hour CCTV. But the loss of a home was just the beginning. While he was adjusting to his new, smaller life, the British government was meeting behind closed doors to discuss the ultimate move, an Act of Parliament to officially strike his name from the line of succession. For the first time since the 1936 abdication, a senior member of the family is facing the prospect of being legally barred from ever touching the crown. With 82% of the public now supporting this constitutional execution, the pressure on the king to sign off on this constitutional execution has become irresistible. And what about Sarah? As the moving boxes were loaded under the cover of darkness, reports surfaced that she had finally reached her breaking point. For the first time in nearly 20 years, the pair are reportedly living separate lives. While he remains under the watchful eye of police and palace staff in Norfolk, she has been spotted in Switzerland, watching the fallout from a distance. The businesses have shut down, the charities have vanished, and the honorary titles she spent decades collecting are being stripped away by unanimous votes in city halls across the country. The House of York hasn't just been renovated, it has been demolished. As the last of the inheritance is diverted and the titles are returned to the state, the story of the high-flying couple who thought they were above the law has reached its final, silent chapter. They traded a lifetime of service for a few years of dangerous associations, and in 2026 the bill finally came due. The gates are locked, the train has been folded away, and the fairy tale is officially over.